This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Oakland Athletics.
Rooker, it's a 5 on a deep center. Robert going back at the track. He will turn and watch it fly.
And 29 other MLB clubs.
Dolis Garcia sends on the other way. That sends Carroll back. He's at the line. Grows. Ronald Acuna, another milestone in a truly historic season.
Plyo with an absolute nuke out to left field.
It's Glaber Day. And like a good Glaber, Torres is there.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe. From humidors to Stuff Plus to walk-off dingers, we have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Hold on one sec. And the only reason I've never done this before, I'm texting with the manager of your Oakland Athletics right now.
Tell him we said hello.
I can't do that.
Well, I can go over who's on the show today while you do that.
Well, the reason why I have to do this right now is that you only have so much time with him. And this has nothing to do with, hey, what do you think? This is all about.
Well, we have a fantastic show for everyone today.
I'm booking Katze as we speak. I have to do this. This is the only time I have him.
Coming up in about 3 minutes, Doug Glanville from ESPN and Marquee Sports, a former big leaguer, good friend of the program, professor at UConn. No, we probably won't get into Danny Hurley turning on the Lakers, but he'll be on the show at 2:05. And then David Forst.
Are you surprised by that?
A little bit. I mean, if he wanted to spurn the Lakers, it's the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers and Celtics are the two marquee jobs in basketball.
Okay, is that you as a basketball coach, or is that you as a sports fan?
Sports fan. Basketball coach, I do not want the Lakers job.
So as a sports, see, that's the thing. It's like, that's what I like to do now on the postgame show. Are you asking me as Chris the baseball guy, or are you asking me as Chris the A's fan? Because it's two different things, right? Like, I'm on this text thread once about a bunch of guys. Let me finish my Katze. I'm booking Katze for tomorrow. Well, he's booked.
Okay, well, real quick, David Forst, the general manager of the Oakland Athletics, coming up at 3:00. But yes, I think as a basketball fan, it's the Lakers. But as a sport, whatever we're doing, but as a basketball coach, no, the Lakers is not a job I want. Aging roster, LeBron, they'll mess with LeBron.
You got to deal with LeBron.
LA media.
I'm on a text thread, and let's just talk. You want to talk real life to start the show out? I'm on a text thread, and with sports fans, they're like, how do you turn down the money? And I go, well, you see that number and those years, and what you don't think about, what all the agents and the players think about, is how much California state tax is coming out of that. So when you say ex-coach, player, whatever, gets 7 years, what was he offered?
I think it was 5 for 70.
Just know that over 13% of that per year. Because the thing is, as a coach, you're getting paid for the year. You don't get paid like a player. You're a California employee. Players get paid like independent contractors, right? They get paid where they play. So they get paid like you play in a city, like you're in Minnesota for 4 days. You're going to pay their state tax. So their taxes are down. He's getting paid like we are. So how much of that money is going to the state of California versus I think Connecticut is like around 6% flat tax? What's he making at UConn? This may not be that big of a pay raise as you may think. Fans don't think about that kind of stuff.
I think I saw some media member put that out there about breaking it down, staying or going to LA, staying at UConn, which I think he made the right. He's going for a three-peat in college basketball, which hasn't happened since the Florida Gators attempted it about 15 years ago. And they didn't, Billy Donovan's out coaching in the NBA. Hurley's still young enough he can coach in the NBA years from now. But
Doug Glanville, we could talk about that because that is something that I know for a fact is a growing concern for all California teams. And we're just not talking about baseball. We're talking football. I know as my buddy who's an NFL agent, how they negotiate with California teams. if it keeps going up like certain politicians want to do, how much does that start to become a factor when you start saying, wait a minute, man, I'm in California, I'm getting taxed 13.3 to whatever it is. I'm now, once it goes up to 16, I mean, that will dramatically affect who you want to play for, how you want to play for. First time I ever learned this was in the Piazza trade. You remember that historic Piazza trade to the Florida Marlins at the time.
8 games or whatever he was there.
And you got to remember, Gary Sheffield had already played in San Diego. He's now in Florida. There's no state taxes. And now you want to send Gary Sheffield back to Los Angeles. Gary Sheffield's agent made sure he got more money to take care of the taxes. And I was like, wow, that was smart. Speaking of smart, do we have as you said earlier, he does television. He's a writer, an author, podcaster. He's a professor, he's a former player. There's nothing he doesn't do in our game or hasn't done. We like to call him the smartest man in baseball. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you? What's the word, Chris? I mean, I'm you can tell a little bit in the car here, but I'm stationary. I'm not driving, so I'm being safe.
Good, yeah.
But, I'm doing well. Yeah, just got back from London. That was amazing to do the Phillies Mets series, and I got to see a lot of family. My dad was from Trinidad and Tobago, so some of my cousins settled in the UK and got to reconnect with them through baseball. So a lot of fun.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think a lot of people go, why do we do it? Why do we send baseball teams over? Why do we, because I've been fortunate to do it in baseball and the NFL. So I've gone to Japan twice with the A's. I used to work for the Raiders. So I did a London series game over there against the Seahawks. And once you do those games, you realize why these leagues are doing it. It's amazing how much everybody over there enjoys it. It's amazing how it grows our game. I absolutely love it. I know, we've seen teams go to Korea. We've seen teams go to Australia. So just from your point of view, from a baseball standpoint and promoting our game globally, what does it mean to do these games?
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head, Chris. I mean, you think about when you're walking at Piccadilly Circus in London and there's Phillies fans and Mets fans walking around with jerseys and you're just like, wait, what's going on here? So I think the interest that's piqued by just, as they do these takeovers, right? The Fan Fest. And meeting fans that are normally, British football fans that are kind of curious. And the stadium was packed. I mean, this is a gigantic football stadium called in West Ham. West Ham is the team. And it was absolutely loaded up with fans. And some of which are native from the UK. Others, of course, came from the US. But it creates that exchange and that conversation. And there's no doubt that, you look at like NFL Europe, for example, or NFL, they did it enough consistency that there's a little bit of a recognition. And I think if baseball continues to show that consistency and wherever they decide, but in this case, in the United Kingdom, they'll have a shot to kind of just be part of the fabric of the culture. And that's a great thing for the game.
Yeah, I think about the World Baseball Classic when Team Japan was playing and the numbers we were getting of how many televisions were on the games in Japan. It was like 85% of all televisions were watching. It just goes to show the market is so big outside the United States. And then hopefully years from now, we'll be retired, but you're finding more players from around the globe. As we see, our number one guy, our show pony is Shohei Ohtani, born in Japan. So there's great athletes out there that hopefully we can get into baseball, more great athletes that we can find. And these games help showcase our sport to hopefully someone watch it and goes, I want to do that.
Yeah, and you mentioned some of the iconic players that are from these countries. They went to Korea to start the season, went to Cuba years ago. And all of a sudden now you have someone who's like, a hometown hero that does wonders for opening up the market because you're able to identify with the players and from where they're from. And certainly the thing about Europe, like, Chase Utley is the MLB ambassador to Europe, and he listed like all the countries he'd been to in this role. And, it's wide open. I talked to the representative that works for the Bulgaria, and he's passionate about baseball. He loves it, and he's trying to get more people involved. So there's definitely an interest. And of course, you have to marry that with, marketing and travel and all these things. But anytime you come in, someone's homeland, so to speak, especially when you have someone from there, it opens up a lot of doors. And I remember Rob Thompson, the Phillies manager, went to a couple of Phillies, not Phillies, but Philadelphia sports bars in London, and they lost their, so it's there. You just kind of have to find it and stay on top of it.
Yeah, it's like Notre Dame football last year played in Ireland, and they took over. They took over basically the country. Navy against Notre Dame. It was amazing. The thousands upon thousands of Notre fans from all over the world. It's just great to connect the world and make our sport bigger. And speaking of Philadelphia, we know how much that means to you. Obviously, being a Penn guy and a longtime Philly. Just the start for the Philadelphia Phillies, and we got a long way to go. Braves are struggling a little bit, but just your old team, how you feeling about the Fightin' Phils? I mean, it seems like things are just rocking when you watch their games.
They are rocking, and Rob Thompson said he wanted them to get off to a good start. The last couple of years they were slow, and they had to kind of catch up, and they did. They were in the World Series, they were in the NLCS, but this year they got off to that start, and it built a lot of confidence. It gave you some margin for error. It showcased talent and versatility that they have. They can pitch. They got a bullpen. They can run, they can hit for power. They got Bryce Harper. I mean, this team is deep, and they have a lot of ways they can take you out. And I saw in London, just like Bryce Harper's show, he's a star that wants to be a star and embraces it. So they have such a nice mix of young players, experience, and showmen, and you put it all together, and you got a team that's really doing as well as they are. What a great rotation too, when you can pitch and hit for power. There's a lot of things that are going to go right for your team, and they did it on a international stage in London, and that's something that was great for them as well. So good team, and just all they're doing is creating more space. So they're gonna have to figure out how to maintain that, and I have no doubt that Rob Thompson will keep their eyes on the prize.
And on the flip side of that, because we're one of the franchises that's not spending a lot of money, and there's a lot of criticism there. On the flip side of that, you're there with the Mets. They're still spending more money than anybody else. They got a bunch of dead money to players that don't even play for them. It just goes to show in our sport. I know players don't want a salary cap. They don't want a floor, even though it works with all the other sports. But it just goes to show you can have a $19 billion hedge fund owner and have all the money in the world, and he can be the biggest fans, but it doesn't mean it's going to buy you wins.
No, not necessarily. You have a chance to compete. You have a chance to make moves, trades. When you have resources, it certainly helps, but there's no longer guarantees of world championships. We've seen a lot of diversity of success in organizations throughout the last few years. Remember the Kansas City Royals won the World Series, the Giants, it's able, and that's good for the game from the standpoint of every fan base knows that they have a shot, things can align. But certainly the resources are ones consistently giving you a chance to at least be in the mix. And the Mets have just had a really tough time. The talent's there. They just can't stay healthy. They got so many challenges that the money's not, making them into a farm team, right? Because trade deadline rolls around, they're going to have to make moves. And, you want to see every team have a shot at making it. But the Mets in this case had the money. They just didn't execute on the field, and they've been swimming upstream ever since.
Now, a lot of fans don't understand that when the trade deadline comes around, that for weeks upon weeks, you've had, whether it's the GMs, it's the assistant GMs, kicking around, what do you need? What are your wants? What are your needs? There's a lot of conversations going around now as we're hitting mid-June. And it's kind of crazy. The Padres just swept us, so they got over 500. That means there's only 5 teams in the National League that are over 500. There's a lot of teams that are kind of like, are we in this? Are we not in this? Obviously, with the wild cards, as we've seen with Philadelphia or the Diamondbacks last year, get in and you got a chance. If you were to advise a general manager on how to decipher, am I really in? Am I not? What's best for my future? I got to start planning for this trading deadline. How do I go about it? Do I want to be a buyer or a seller? How would you advise a GM to go about that?
It's challenging. And as you mentioned, as the playoff system has evolved and changed, each system or each structure changes those priorities. And there's no question that it matters who's in the free agent class, because, who's available, who's going to be available may not align with when you have the money or when you have the year to make those moves. For example, the Mets had all this money but the free agent class had a lot of veteran pitchers that were kind of old. And with Verlander and Scherzer and guys like that, yeah, they're still excellent. They still bring a lot to your clubhouse, but giving you the 230 innings. And so sometimes timing will dictate how you strategically go about what you're going for, buying and selling. Some organizations like the Mariners, for example, in recent time, they were like, we have to just make the playoffs. We don't care. We just have to get there. It has been too long of a drought for us to just be like, well, we're only going to sell or buy if we're absolutely going to win the division. And that became a priority of the Mariners, and it made a difference because they're playing very well this year. Other teams, they're like not willing to gamble and trade some incredible prospects for a chance to back into the wild card. That might not be worth it for a lot of organizations. So depending on where you sit will dictate like how you're going to play. And it has a lot to do with your history and the priorities of the organization in that moment. You look at the Miami Marlins under Kim Ng, they get into the postseason, and that was unexpected. They were, they got in there, and now they're having a disastrous next, and so they're looking like sellers, and all of a sudden, what a difference a year can make. So that's what we love about baseball. Like, it can change, the winds change one year to the next. But I do think you have to know your organization so well to know how much weight you put on the buy or the sell side of the scale.
And some teams are crazy. I mean, the team, and I've been talking to our fan base about it because it was the whole summer sausage thing that they were floating around there with the Twins throwing the sausages at each other. And it's like, so the A's are now in Minnesota starting a 4-game set today. Their first 20 games, they went 7-13. Their next 20, they went 17-3. They've lost. So some teams are so chaotic. I mean, you don't know where the winds are blowing. So, yeah, being a general manager in this sport is really, really tough. I want your opinion because I know you, Jason Stark, work together. A lot of people are throwing out, how do we get the starting pitcher back to be the starting pitcher? And we have some numbers here that are pretty crazy. Total pitchers used last season in baseball, 863. So that's 863 different human beings pitched in Major League Baseball. If I go back into when you were playing, we're in the 500s to 600s. Right now, what are we at, Cody, right now in June?
655.
Yeah, we're on pace to have over 1,000 pitchers used in Major League Baseball this year. I mean, it's mind-blowing, right? It's crazy. Yeah. So it's like, how do we get back to starting pitchers eating up more of the innings? Because we really don't have enough qualified pitchers to throw at the big league level.
I mean, at this point, you might have to go to like legislation. You'd have to go to like your state senator or something and come in. Look, I think it's a point of emphasis, right? I mean, there's a reason for that specialization because it's successful, right? If there was a sinker ball pitcher just in the bullpen, that would have been bad for me, right? Because I needed to see that guy the third time around. So it works. And the other thing that works is velocity. You throw a lot hard, you got movement, and you only have to do the max effort for a couple innings. Those guys are going to be more successful. Now they blow out, and I think that's part of the problem. So if you look at the Phillies as an example, or even the Cubs, good rotations that have more, they can weave in a lot of finesse. And it seems like max effort is kind of the enemy to longevity or health because you're throwing as hard as you can, every pitch you can. And so a lot of those numbers you mentioned are because people are just getting hurt. I mean, all these all-stars that are on the shelf, Spencer Strider and Shane Bieber and all these great pitchers that are not healthy right now. And it's noticeable when you're missing a whole bunch of all-stars. Jacob deGrom, Shohei Ohtani can't pitch because of just injury. So that's a big part of it. So maybe with the Phillies, if you see teams that are successful that aren't necessarily max effort, but pitching to contact, those guys seem to be able to be more healthy, quite frankly. That is more of the recipe because a max effort is really taxing, and especially if you have volume on top of that. But I'm hopeful because, growing up, I want to see, Steve Carlton versus Tom Seaver or Mario Soto versus Fernando Valenzuela or John Tudor. You just knew those matchups. That was like the boxing. That was like the top of the ticket, right? And you just don't have that now. And it's so hard because there's a lot of success in how they're doing it, the way they're doing it, even with the injuries, because the specialization in the matchups it gives you that advantage.
Yeah, we're making less stars in our game. And you mentioned I grew up in Southern California. I lived Fernando Mania, right? I saw it. Mark the Bird Fidrich. I mean, these we won't have those anymore. And it's like that's not making less stars in your sport is never a good thing. Hey, thank you so much for the time. We always appreciate it. We know how busy your schedule is. Everything that you do is amazing. So schedule's always packed. We appreciate you taking the time. You know, we're big fans, and keep doing what you're doing. You're great for our game.
My pleasure. Always great to be on A's Cast. And Chris, good to see you, man. Take care.
Take care. Be well. He's awesome. I mean, Sunday Night Baseball. He's The Athletic. The podcast with The Athletic with Jason Stark.
Marquee
right?
Sports.
Marquee Sports.
Does Cubs. UConn professor.
He's a professor. I mean, come on, man. The guy, it was a good player. He was a really good player. Doug Glanville is awesome to have on.
I completely forgot he was even in because when I reached out to his handler last week, Carolyn, I asked her, I was like, hey, is Doug available to come on with us next week? We're playing on the road and it's earlier start time. And she was like, yeah, completely forgot he was going to be in London for the games when ESPN was over there. So that was cool to catch up and hear about what it was like over there.
And I know for a lot of people, they go, why do we do this? And once again, I've been fortunate twice to go to Japan with the A's and once to go to London with the Raiders. Like, you don't understand how big it is. And Major League Baseball has an office in Japan. Like, we have Europe and Japan. NFL has them all. I mean, these leagues are just not in the United States of America. There are offices around the world promoting these games. And it's important to grow our game not only domestically, but also internationally. By the way, I just want to show, looking at, this is part of the new Linksoul springtime. Soon we're going to get in the summertime collection. You got your Linksoul on today?
I do, yes. I was trying to figure out because
the springtime. These, what would, obviously we're golfers, right? But what we've tried to tell people is, listen, this is great for going out. This is great, if you're whatever the activity is, dinner, happy hour, whatever. The spring collection, the fabrics are phenomenal.
Oh, I love it, and I mean, the polos are great, but I love the zip ups and the pullovers. Yeah. That's my
quarter zips.
That's my specialty. That's my avenue.
Well, and now it's been the big thing for Ken and Vince that I've made sure they've got the quarter zips. Is as it gets cold at night at the Coliseum, you want to be warm, you want to look good, and you want to be warm, and that has been a big key for them.
You might say you want to look good, broadcast good.
Yeah, look good, play good. That's always big, but look good, broadcast good. Linksoul, linksoul.com. All right, Doug, what Doug said right there was super interesting from the standpoint of we're not thinking about longevity anymore. We're just thinking about the now. Throw hard now. Well, what's that going to do for you? Spin it. And I know Scott Emerson, our pitching coach, has said, when didn't you not want to throw it hard and spin it? It's true to a point to where you didn't go above and beyond and you tried to find tools that would help you, like the Plyo balls. There's a lot of people that think we have these balls, and you see pitchers all the time throwing. If you're a fan and you go to the game early and you see pitchers just throwing balls into the outfield wall, or they're throwing it, they have pads that are in the nets down in the bullpen, and they're throwing hard into these pads, you think they're just throwing a baseball. They're not. They're throwing different weighted balls. So some of the balls are heavier, and some of the balls are even lighter than the actual baseball. It is a belief that these balls, they definitely work to help create your ability to throw the baseball harder. Like, they've created different things in different sports, right? They have heavier golf clubs to really get the motion to get your butt right, getting your body and, getting you heavier. That's why guys will swing heavier bats as they're getting ready to go up. They're in the on-deck circle. They're swinging a heavier bat forever. We were in Little League or high school. The donuts, right? everybody's using. It's always heavier to train to get your muscles, and heavier to get you to go faster.
Is that why Dave Parker used a sledgehammer?
Dave Parker, the most intimidating man ever. Can you imagine you're like looking there, you're like facing the A's in 1989, and there's Dave Parker with a sledgehammer.
It's such a
like,
great.
Jesus, what the hell am I going to do to get this guy out? But that all works because when you're swinging the heavy stuff, right? The momentum. In the Olympics where you have the ball, the metal bowling ball out there with the chain, and they whirls it around and lets it go. The event, I don't know what the actual event is called. A lot of people have talked about that.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, what is that? Because it is it's a great teacher of how the human body works. Because you need to get the ball, the hammer throw. Is that what it is?
Maybe
it's hammer throw.
Yeah, I think it's hammer. Yeah, it is the hammer.
Is it the hammer throw? Because what you have to do is you have to have the momentum. You can't let the chain collapse. There always has to be tension on the chain to keep the concrete ball moving around the body, right? You're moving it around the body. And so as people have studied biomechanics and how the human body works, you start to realize that the way they keep that ball going around them, the key is the center. Your chest really doesn't move all that much. Whenever you're really hitting something, throwing something, the chest is your center of gravity. The ball, the bat, the golf club is all moving around your mass. The mass doesn't move that much, right? And a lot of people don't think about that. Think about when you pitch, how much of the mass is moving. There's all stuff moving around the mass, but the mass is not, you're not moving crazy stuff with your mass, right? It's the tree trunk and the limbs, as Lee Trevino would talk about. So when you start to realize that when I'm doing that chain and I got to make sure that chain stays stiff so the ball continues to circle around, I'm like the sun. The plants are circling around, that I get the momentum and then woof, let it go. It's the same thing that they're trying to teach with hitting, whether it's a baseball, whether it's hockey, whether it's golf. It's the releasing of the inertia. You're releasing it. That's why when you hit it, you want to hit it and you're the ball, that's what they care so much about, is hitting the ball hard. That's why they're not teaching hitting down on the ball anymore. They want to, especially golf. My God, you see how far these guys are hitting it. Well, they're letting it go. The power is letting it go. And it's just so funny the way that we start to look at things these days and how we do things and it's about power. Well, the problem is with pitching, all you have to do is spread your fingers out. Spread your fingers out. The whole fork ball. Back in the day, not a split finger, but the fork where you'd really dig it in. Spread your fingers out. Do you feel it in here? Do you feel a funny bone?
No, I've been mainly feeling my fingers.
You barely put it. You got to put it in your fingers, man. Put it in your fingers. All the way deep into your fingers. Do you feel your elbow?
No. I'm a bad example.
You're trying to tell me if you spread your fingers out, you don't feel this?
I don't feel anything. I just feel it right in here.
Give me your fingers. Give me your fingers. I'm going to spread your fingers out. You don't feel that in your elbow?
No.
Wow. You spread, the average human being, you spread it out. Look at do you not see my elbow moving?
Yeah. Mine for some reason didn't.
That's why he sucks to do a show with a time. You ask him, you can actually see.
Hey, I can't control that. That's my body.
So look, you can actually see my forearm move when I spread my fingers out, right?
Yeah.
You're seeing that move. What's messing with your tendons, man? The harder you're whipping this is called flexion. The harder you're doing this, the more stress you're putting here. It's inevitable, right? We used to worry about shoulder injuries. Now we're worried about right here, the UCL. It goes right through your funny bone. If you ever hit your funny bone, my funny bone goes right through there. And that's the problem, is that you're taking this to go, and you do it long enough, it's probably going to go anyway. But you're now taking it to such the max that you're not thinking about longevity. So that's why you have kids having Tommy John surgery in high school. You have record amounts of Tommy John in college, record amounts of Tommy John in the minor leagues, and record amount of Tommy Johns in the big leagues. And it's like, where are we going with this? Because there's not 1,000 guys out there. Like I fooled around with Vince. I haven't been able to do this yet with Vince Cotroneo, but Vince is one of those old school broadcasters that loves to go, oh, it's the big leagues. You know, these guys, it's the big leagues. Vince broke in 1998. Now, he had been doing stuff since 91, but his first official year was 1998. 557 pitchers were used. Last year, 863. This year, we're going to blow past that. So the reality, this is the big leagues. Almost 2/3 of your pitchers will pitch in the minor leagues this year that pitch in the big leagues.
It's not good.
Well, it just goes to show that old,
well, I mean,
this is the big leagues. It is. The lines between, and our guy Eno Saris yesterday, I don't even know how I got off on this, but Eno Saris said AAA.
I saw this tweet,
for Stuff Plus, AAA's been ransacked. Think about that. AAA pitching staffs have been ransacked because everybody's got to pitch in the big leagues. And you might say, well, it's the bad teams. The Dodgers have used as many pitchers as we have.
Yeah, Dodgers and A's both at 27. Brewers and Marlins on lead baseball 28 each used.
Where the Yankees are right behind, and they're having a great season.
New York Yankees going into today 24. So we're at 655. A few days ago, 649. So we've used 6 more pitchers since 2 days ago.
What? I don't even know what date it is. Is it June 12th?
June 13th.
June 13th. June 13th. It's June 13th. We've used 600. How many?
55.
There's not 655 guys qualified to throw in baseball by June 13th.
And think about
mark this date, June 13th, 655.
Yeah.
What do you think we're going to be at July 4th? Where are they going to find all these guys?
I think we'll be over 700 probably by then.
Oh my God, man.
If you keep going on the same pace you're at, I'm trying to think
because the thing is that the narrative out there is that it's the terrible team. It's like the A's. It's like what? Dodgers have used me. Dodgers are a team they spent $1.2 billion in the offseason, and they've used as many pitchers as we have.
The teams that have used the fewest amount of pitchers this year: the Nationals, who are hot right now, Padres, who are also hot, Phillies, Tigers, Reds, all at 18 pitchers used. So essentially, they've only used 5 pitchers since they cracked opening day.
Just wait. Well, we should set a date. When's the All-Star break? Is it the 12th?
No, it's like the last game is the 14th, I'm pretty sure.
So our last A's cast before the All-Star break, we should go.
It's the 11th, I'm pretty sure, for us.
Let's check in on everybody's pitching and see how far we are at this point. What if we're at 800 pitchers by the All-Star break?
That's not good. What was it last year? 869 or 849 or whatever it was?
I mean, because as Doug just said, like when you're growing up, pitchers were stars. I want to see Steve Carlton against Tom Seaver. He mentioned Fernando Mania. Fernando Mania. For all of you youngsters, look it up. Fernando Valenzuela, a Mexican pitcher, shows up, and he is so good, and he's got the screwball going. He's selling out stadiums wherever he goes. He was the more modern-day version of Mark the Bird Fidrich, who did the exact same thing. Is the Bird in the late 60s?
I want to say he was.
I think it's 60s. Mark the Bird Fidrich was his phenom for the Tigers.
I thought he was in the 70s. I could be wrong.
I don't know. I was.
First year was 76.
Okay. Wow, it wasn't even close. 76.
Well, he was born in 54. There's no way unless he. There's no way he's pitching in the majors.
I was 4 years old. I don't remember. So it's these phenoms. Come on, Vita Blue. It's a great example is your own A's Vita Blue. Vita Blue, when he pitched, stadiums were packed. Charlie Finley wanted to make it so Vita Blue always threw it home because attendance was so bad. And people wanted to see Vita Blue. And by the way, the road attendance for those 70s A's teams was far better than the home attendance. People wanted to watch them because they were greatness. So if you ever want to get into a conversation about a real data, factual, non-opinion, non-feelings attendance conversation. I don't like to get into it. I've looked at the numbers. I could tell you a lot. You can go to Baseball Reference and check out everybody's attendance from every single game.
In fact, you can also, you can use that mobile
and it
research
is
tool.
amazing when you go back, because I actually did this with the 2001 season we just had, because it was funny how our guy David Feldman, you remember when there's a lot of people in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and checked the entire year for 2001, a team that won 102 games, had the MVP, the big threes there. Yeah, it is amazing when you take out, because you got to remember there's like 6 firework nights. You'll see when there's 40,000. It's firework night, right? You'll see when there's a giveaway. Like if you take the firework nights out, oh my God. But anyway, you ever want to have a factual, real, non-emotional, just these are the facts conversation about attendance, which I don't think really you get a lot. Baseball Reference has all of that for you. You can really see. But getting back to the pitching standpoint.
Well, I want to tell you, Fidrich in his rookie year started 29 games. How many complete games did he have?
Almost every one of them.
He had 24. Well, we break 24 complete games this season as a whole for the league. I think we're like 9 or 10, maybe.
They got to come up pretty soon, right? Don't they have to come up pretty soon? Because the later we get in the year, managers, that now gives – there's always an excuse why guys will not allow pitchers. Instead of just saying we don't want them to face these hitters anymore. The end of the year gives
12. We have 12.
The end of the year gives managers excuses not to have guys do complete. It's the end of the year. It's been a long season. So it's like, if we're going to have a bunch of complete games, they got to be June and July, because this is midseason. You've had X amount of starts. There's no reason why you shouldn't be allowed to go deeper, because once we hit August, managers start playing the, it's been a long season card. Instead of being transparent and just saying we don't want them facing guys X amount of times. That no one wants to be it'd be a lot easier. But getting back to what Doug Glanville said, and he's dead on, it's like, and I've been preaching this, by not highlighting starters, it may be great for your data, but it's not great for the game, because less guys being stars. Less stars that we have. The All-Star game, you couldn't wait to see certain pitchers pitch in the All-Star game. If we're now like, can't wait to see Mason Miller, a reliever, if that's the star pitchers are now relievers, your game's in trouble.
Yeah, it was interesting the other day. I don't know if you saw it. It was. I saw it on X. I didn't see a lot of their game when he pitched, because I think the game started, I think, when we were on the air still. But when Paul Skeens pitched in St. Louis, the crowd at Busch Stadium gave him a standing ovation when he walked off the mound.
Yeah.
Like, that just shows you that we have one guy that's a starter that people are paying attention to just because he was number 1 overall pick and he throws 102. Other than that,
and he can pitch.
Yeah, he's been decent for them. But like, other than that, what other starting pitchers are we going? I got to give this guy a standing ovation when he walks off the mound after 5 1/3 or 6 1/3. Sorry,
Verlander,
Scherzer when he's on the mound,
Kershaw when he comes back.
So all guys that are going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Old
Guys in the Hall of Fame. Sorry, I don't think I'm giving a standing ovation to Joe Ryan, who's pitching tonight for the Twins when he walks out the field. Oh, wow. I don't care if he is from San Francisco.
What about Luis Medina?
Another guy that throws hard. Joe Ryan increases velocity by like 2 miles per hour since last year.
Speaking of, where are we? Where this is Central Time Zone game. I'm freaked out. Where are we? Who's our next guest?
David Forst in 20 minutes.
All right. Luis Medina. Here's a couple thoughts I have on the A's. To me, I'm at a point, I love the Tyler Soderstrom son.
Son.
I'm a Lou Piniella. Son, come here.
Yeah, he wouldn't know Tyler.
Last year, I said, I'm taking his catching gear. I'm going to a metal drum. I'm sticking it in there. I'm taking lighter fluid. Remember that when I said that? And they didn't do it. They kept catching him. I'm like, I don't know why you're catching him.
He was catching in spring training this year.
Yeah, he's terrible.
And he was catching in Vegas.
I called games with Johnny in spring training, and I'm like, yeah, he's terrible. I wouldn't want to. No offense, but I mean, he's not a good catcher. You know what he's not bad at?
First base.
First base.
Looks good over there.
Moneyball told you it wasn't hard.
Yeah, I know. That's what Wash told us. Apparently, Wash now can tell us it's important to hold team meetings all the time.
Oh, my God. The Angels are leading the world in team meetings.
Maybe Kotz needs to have one.
What did they do?
We're
all going to be more accountable.
That's what Wash said happened in his.
We're all going to be more accountable. Hey, how about we do this? All right. Hitting's hard. Pitching's hard. The fundamentals of the game are hard. All right. It's hard to play baseball. It is. It's a hard sport. Right. They're all hard. Watch the U.S. Open right now at Pinehurst in North Carolina. Golf is incredibly hard. Playing in the NFL, you got the biggest, strongest, fastest human beings killing each other. You think it's easy playing in the NFL? No, it's not. NBA, it's the tallest freaks, best athletic freaks on the planet playing in the NBA. It's hard.
Hockey, it's the biggest freaks on skates.
Hockey, they don't have teeth. I mean, it's hard. It's a hard sport, right? You lose your teeth.
Panthers are going to win Game 3 tonight. Just throwing that out there now.
So here's the reality. If it's going to be hard, there's one thing you really can do. You can be good at the little stuff. And when you're good at the little stuff, it will help you win games. And I was thinking about this. Back in the day, our younger fans have no idea what this is. It's called infield. Major League Baseball teams used to take infield, just like high school and college teams do. And it all starts, guy gets the fungo, the coach comes out, everybody goes out to their positions. It's multiple guys at the positions. Whack, hit it out to left field. Left fielder gets it, throws it into second base. Then he hit out to center. Whack. Center fielder throws it to second base. And he hit to right field. They throw it to second base. Then you go back to left field. Whack. And he throws it to third base. And now we're all lining up. We're all getting to where we need to go. The shortstop's going to be the cutoff guy. So then they throw to third base. Then they throw home. Then the outfielders are done. And then the infield takes infield. They used to do this every single day or majority of days. Now they don't do it at all. And so I was thinking about that. And I want to ask David Forst. Back in the day, you used to be able to watch the guys who had great arms. You mentioned Dave Parker, Dave Winfield, Jesse Barfield, guys who just had Darryl Strawberry had a great arm, right? Guys who just had unbelievable arms. You used to watch that in infield. And then the game would start. How many times has an outfielder thrown to home plate in the last week? They don't do it in batting practice. They don't practice it. This is a skill that is not what it used to be because they used to practice it every day. They don't. Trust us, we're on the field. Nobody's practicing it. So when you have a line shot out to right field and the right fielder gets a two-hop and he's coming up and he's pumping it home, how many times do you see that ball's not even close to the catcher? It's so offline. Cutoff man's irrelevant because you never hit the cutoff man. That's why I'm like, Eric Martins, send everybody. Dodger game, Pages got thrown out yesterday. Pages, he got thrown out by he ran through the stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
They were calling him Pages on the broadcast on MLB Network.
That's weird because I heard people call him Pages. Either way, he was thrown out at home.
Look it up because the girl on MLB Network called him Pages last night. I had really no idea who he is.
He was a Dodgers, obviously a prospect, but
if he's Spanish, that makes sense.
Pages, yeah.
So he gets thrown out to end the game. But I'm like, I don't care. Send him.
He's running with his head down. Of course, you should be running with your head down if you're trying to get home.
No, you got to.
Well, you got to look, but I mean,
you got the stop sign. You got to look. See, now you're going against the fundamentals of baseball. That's why the third base coach is there. Stop. But anyway, my point is, it's the little things. I mean, how many? Here's case in point. Last night, White Sox against the Mariners.
Hold on a second. I have it. So let me download it.
Mariners, by the way, I told you, this is the year of the Mariners. The Mariners they're down 4 runs. They come back in the 8th. Kyle Raleigh then hits a walk-off grand slam. Then last night, you start talking about everything's got to be hit hard. Oh, my God. Mike Petriello's going to just geek out and write 20-page articles about StatCast and bat speed and barrel percentage and all this kind of stuff. Look at this stuff. This is the walk-off win from last night. I had Cody get it because I was in my backyard watching MLB Network, watching the highlights, sitting there just relaxing, and I watch all the highlights. And it's these types of plays that win baseball games every single day.
Bleeder, that's going to work. Here comes Luke. He is motoring. He's going to score. And the Mariners have won this game. Mitch Haniger. Another clutch opportunity for the ball club, and he comes through.
Terrific AB. He had to battle being down 0-2 right away, but he hung in there. Ends up getting a game winner. Walk-off. Nice.
The Mariners win this series and can go for a sweep tomorrow.
You heard Bleeder, clutch, all in the same call right there.
That was Dave Sims, Mariners.
Bleeder, and Mitch Haniger was clutch. Let's go to StatCast, because this is just a doink into right field, wins the game. We go to StatCast. The readings are not going to be over 100 miles an hour. We're all striving to hit the ball as hard as we can. David Forst talked to us about that, about how hard it. Tell us what the final analysis was on the game-winning hit.
The Exitville on that hit by Mitch Haniger was 70.9 miles per hour.
Now, if you're listening at home, you can't see me looking at Cody for the dramatic effect, but if you are watching on YouTube, 70.
Yeah. We'll round up. We'll be polite. We'll round up 71.
And that gets back to night after night. If you watch Quick Pitch, which is the great highlight show on MLB Network, they show them. This is not like ESPN gives you like two. They do the big points in the games. So you got a good idea of what's happening with every series by watching the show. Night after night, I watch it. Bloopers, bleeders, balls barely hit off the bat, making people make plays, wins games. It's fundamentals. Bat on ball. Making defenses make the plays, they win games. They don't. Everybody wants to think it's Aaron Judge hitting into the second deck every night that's winning games, and it's just not true. Looks great. You strive for it, but it's just not true. And when you're the A's and you're striking out 16 times and 18 times, there's 27 outs in the game. 18 of those, you didn't make them have to defend anything. Remember that Under Armour, defend this house? Was it Under Armour that did the whole defend this house?
Yeah.
What house do you have to defend when 18 of the outs, 27 outs, if we want to make this a math game, there's 27 outs. 18 of those outs, you did not make the Padres have to defend. And then in game one, 16 of those 27, you didn't make the Padres have to defend. You actually are the easiest defendable team in baseball because you don't put the ball in play. And you strive for home runs at 50% of your runs scored are home runs.
Exactly 50%. Now.
I mean, you are very defensible. And people don't talk like that in baseball. They just don't. But we talk about in other sports where you go, oh, man, their offense sucks. You can defend them easily. They can't throw to the hashes. They can't throw deep. I mean, we just go Tampa 2 on them and keep everything in front. After this week, we have to be leading in strikeouts. I know the Mariners were up there, but we have to be leading in strikeouts.
The Mariners were leading going into yesterday.
We've got to be. 16 and 18 in 2 straight days.
Right now, I'm going to pause for dramatic effect. No, we are 5 behind the Mariners.
And remember, the Mariners fired their hitting guy. They hired a guy, Brant Brown. They hired a guy to be the bench coach and the offensive coordinator.
Correct.
He was going to come in and he was going to change how their hitting philosophy. They were so bad, leading the league in strikeouts. They've gotten better, but they fired their guy. He was new. They said enough. They fired their offensive coordinator. It just sounds weird to say.
It's very bizarre.
Cam Cameron got fired.
Cam Cameron. North Turner.
No, Valten is fired as offensive coordinator.
Hugh Jackson.
Bill Naboli. They fired their guy. And they've been hot ever since. But they fired their guy. They said, we got to make a change. We're just behind. It's like, I don't know how many, I mean, that's the tough thing for David. Like, how do you stop this? You have to admit, as much as, because the era of saying strikeouts don't matter is just, it's not right. You're too defensible. You're not putting any pressure. If this is a game of 90 feet, we need to be taking 90 feet to score. If you can't even get on first, you can't walk you're going to walk your way? Where are we in walks?
By the way, Mariners have had far less at-bats than us, too. Walks in Major League Baseball, we are tied for 13th with 214. We're tied with the Guardians.
I'm surprised we walk. I don't know if that is just pitchers being bad. We have so many different pitchers. Why would you walk our guys?
Yeah, we have.
Why would you just not come right after everybody?
214 walks.
I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but why wouldn't you just? Who wouldn't you come right after? Probably the one guy, Andujar. Maybe Bleday right now. Because I'm going to look up Rooker. The home runs for Rooker have stopped.
Strikeouts keep going up for him, too.
Yeah, he's striking out 35% of the time. Geloff's striking out almost 35% of the time. Let's see. Yeah, Rooker in June is hitting 189. Why would you not challenge him? Why would you not challenge our guys? And this is the problem what happened with us last year is Rooker went cold.
Yeah.
Rooker went cold in June, July, and here it's happening again. Right now, he's hitting 189 for the month of June. 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, a slug of just 432 for the month.
The thing that...
strikeouts, 16.
Yeah, it's a lot of strikeouts. The thing that's... And I heard you talking about on postgame yesterday, the Ace Clubhouse show, is... The starting pitching is what's keeping them in the game. The young starting
Fabulous. Pitching. How do you not like Hogan Harris?
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought it back. How do you not?
Well, if we want to go way back, we still haven't finished the Tyler Soderstrom at first base point.
Oh, my God. I love Soderstrom at first base. Are we not liking Soderstrom at first base? I love it.
I know it hurts your guy, Ryan Noda, but he's still not hitting very well in Vegas. So, I mean, this is Soderstrom's job now.
Soderstrom...
And he's in the lineup again today playing for
and if he's going to make mistakes, I'm okay. Like there's times when you're going to make mistakes. You know how I got off track? I was talking about being fundamentally sound.
Yeah.
Like you be fundamentally sound. If you get beat being fundamentally sound, I can live with that. I can't live with errors, base running mistakes, throwing to the wrong bases, weak throws from the outfield. I can't live with that. That's something I can't. That and strikeouts. Strikeouts. If you're striking out a lot, you're basically saying we don't make adjustments.
I was looking. We're tied for 5th in baseball, or in the Major League, 5th in baseball with 12 outfield assists. So I was like, that number was actually kind of surprising to me because we don't see a lot of throws to home when guys get thrown out at home. But
and by the way, did you know? And I only know this because they did it on MLB Network. That you've got Aaron Judge and everybody else in center field.
Yes.
Okay. Aaron Judge is give him the stat real quick.
Oh, Aaron Judge going into today, I looked it up. He's on pace for like 58 home runs, 59 home runs. He's also on pace to hit 49 doubles, which is incredible. Only one player in the history of baseball has had a 50-50 season, 50 homers, 50 doubles. It was Albert Bell in 1995. Asked Towny about it. He got on the first guess. One guy's done it. He didn't win the MVP. Look up the 1995 season. See how Albert Bell got screwed out of the MVP by Mo Vaughn.
He comes.
Well, not by Vaughn, but
he
for the
comes
Raiders.
Walking into my house today, strutting in, thinks he has this question. He's going to get me. See, I got to do this every day. It's like every single day I'm playing Trivial Pursuit. It's like every single day. It's like I got to be on guard for trivia. He comes walking in. Hey, did you know? And I went, Albert Bell. Ha ha.
Albert Bell,
I don't get it. I got to be honest. I don't get it most days.
But today,
give me credit. I got it today.
I went and looked. The only other guy to come even close to that,
Jed Lowry at 49.
Babe Ruth in like 1921.
So let me ask you.
50 homers, 44 doubles, I think.
let me ask you. How many home runs? Is he on pace?
I think he's on pace for 50. Going after today's game, I think he's on pace for 58.
Let's say he hits 58 home runs and has 50 doubles. That is just an incredible slug. Can he rival Bonds' best year?
Yeah, he's on pace for 58.
Can he rival Bonds' best? Or Roos' best? I think Bonds has the all-time, right, for a single season?
Yeah. And he's also on pace for 100 walks, too, which 100 and something walks, actually. The numbers he's putting up are absurd. And yeah, I know
Bonds in 04. Oh, wait a minute. No, in 01, when Bonds hit 73 home runs, Bonds had a slug of 863.
Judge's slug right now is 702. Just falling a little short. He's a tad short.
How many doubles did Barry have? Barry had 73 home runs and he had 32 doubles. So if Judge can get
Judge right now 25 homers,
around 60 dingers and 50 doubles, can he sniff Barry's 863?
I'm gonna go probably not. I mean, he has 25 and 21 right now, and it's 702.
Barry, how many triples does Judge have? Does he have one?
Judge has one triple.
Bonds had two.
All right.
Like
how many times did Bonds walk that year? Walk, not intentionally, just walk.
Only 177.
Okay, Judge ain't getting that.
By the way, 2002, Bonds walked 198 times. 198 times.
Aaron Judge intentionally walked this year. Has only been intentionally walked 5 times.
Oh, you want intentional walks? Bonds in 04 was intentionally walked 120 times.
It's incredible. The numbers are incredible.
Dude, Bonds is the best player of all time. I don't care if he was on roids. And I hate Barry. Barry was an ass to me. But I'm not stupid. Nobody was better than Barry. Super Barry, steroid Barry is the best player of all time. I mean, the numbers are insane. He was the best player when he wasn't on roids. Like, look at this year. 1993, Barry Bonds, first year with the Giants, was not on steroids. Game of Shadows did a great job. Bonds started flirting with roids in 97. Read Game of Shadows. Bonds, when he comes to the Giants in 93, he hits 336, 46 home runs, 123 RBIs, 29 stolen bases. He leads the league in on-base, slug, obviously OPS. If he's going to lead in both, he's going to, right? He leads in OPS plus and total bases and intentional walks.
And he
was a Gold Glove outfielder.
And
how can you have a better year than that?
Back-to-back MVP, right? He should have won he should have won 4 in a row. But
whoa, don't Terry Pendleton. Have respect for TP. All right, when's Forst coming up?
Like 2 minutes from now.
All right, coming up next, the general manager of the Oakland Athletics, David Forst, right here on A's Cast Live.
We're almost halfway through baseball season, and there's no better time to build your collection of Topps trading cards. Topps packs feature everything from top stars, rookies, game-used memorabilia, and autographs from players around the league, as well as special inserts and surprises. Visit your local hobby shop, retailers, and Topps.com to collect the newest product of the season, Topps Baseball Series 2. Follow @Topps on social media to join the conversation and start sharing your collection today.
Where does one community end and the next begin? Across the railroad tracks? On the other side of the river? Is it between the east side and the west side? At Comerica Bank, we believe it's all one community, and we're all part of it. That's why Comerica has invested over $20 million for affordable housing, financial education, and workforce development in lower-income communities. Because when we raise expectations for everyone, we all rise. Member FDIC, Equal Opportunity Lender.
Hey, Oakland A's fans, step up to the plate with Xfinity Internet. Get the fastest speeds and low-lag streaming for an incredible viewing experience that knocks it out of the park. And you'll have a consistent connection with reduced buffering and freezing, so you can stay in all the action inning after inning. When it's game time, make sure to catch it all with internet that's powerful and reliable. Stream sports from the best seat in the house with Xfinity, because it's only live once. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed. Many factors affect speed. For factors affecting speed, visit Xfinity.com/network management.
Whether it's a midweek trip to the ballpark to catch a game or a weekend of baseball for the family, Grab your tickets for an A's game this season. Secure your seats today for all the biggest matchups, fireworks, drone shows, giveaways, and more. Don't miss out on all the things happening this season.
Throws and set. It's a drive into center. It's deep, and Straw is back at the track. He will turn and watch it fly.
So grab yours now at athletics.com/tickets. That's athletics.com/tickets.
This is the place where you can dance like nobody's watching, win like nobody's business, and get away like you mean it. So what are you waiting for? Come join the party. Take that evening out and make it a night you'll never forget. This kind of action can't be beat.
Streaming from the studio, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
All right, we got the Athletics and the Twins coming up just a little bit later here on A's Cast and the A's Radio Network. The general manager of your Oakland Athletics joins us here on A's Cast Live, David Forst. David, how are you?
I'm all right. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Normally at this time of the year, you guys were like knee deep in draft. The draft probably would have almost already happened by now. Now it's not to the All-Star break. Just talk about with you and your staff how things have changed from what we used to do, the June amateur draft. Now it's in July. How it just all changes for you and your guys getting ready for this process, because it means so much.
Yeah, well, I was going to tell you one of the benefits of the later draft is getting to go to San Diego for a 3-day road trip, but that was a rough 3 days, so I wouldn't put that in the pros column right now. But yeah, it's a lot different than it used to be. There's an extra month now. We will head to Arizona for the Combine next week, which has become a really, really beneficial event for the clubs, and chance to watch some guys work out that you wouldn't otherwise see, and also get to sit down face to face with, probably 15 to 20 guys that you're hoping to draft and really get some in-depth conversation. So that's become a really nice event to have, and part of the reason why we've moved things back.
Yeah, we always joke about the NFL Combine, watching a lot of guys running around in shorts and T-shirts, and what do we really get out of it? But the thing that they've always said in the NFL, and I think you guys are experiencing now, is the number one thing is you get to talk to guys. You get to learn about them. You get to see them. You get to talk to them. You get to interview them. At the NFL, it's great to see guys run the 40 and run some pass patterns and all that kind of stuff, and what's their vertical and all that kind of stuff. But just talk about that. Like, it's great to watch guys take BP and but you get to talk to them and know who they are.
Yeah, it's such a huge part, particularly the guys that you're drafting up top. There's a huge financial investment. Our area scouts do a great job of sitting down with these guys in the winter and during the season and bringing information back to us. And that's a huge part of what the area guys are doing. But for myself, for Eric, for some of the cross checkers, this is really the opportunity we have. We sat down with Jacob last year at the Combine and really felt like we got to know him and felt like we knew where he was coming from. That was hugely helpful. On the workout side, I will say, we'll probably ride this for as long as the Combine is a thing, but that's where we found Mason. I mean, the first ever Combine in Cary, North Carolina is where we saw Mason throw. And we had a report on him from his season at Gardner-Webb, but for Eric and some of the upper level guys to see him throw a bullpen at the Combine, that kind of pushed him up to where he got to on our board. So I wouldn't discount the workout part of that event too much, because it worked out pretty well at least once.
Well, all the scouts that you got to have roaming around Gardner-Webb all the time, it must be amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so this time of the year also, before we start talking about the team, I just want to get into some of this business, is we start looking at trade deadline. And everybody just, all of a sudden, trades start happening, and you're like, well, there's a lot that goes back to, let's say, in the offseason when you have GM meetings, there's a lot of seeds being planted. So where we are now, people are starting to figure out, am I a buyer? Am I a seller? So you might be both. Like, take us through the process, because it's not only you, it's the assistant GM talking. They're all talking. Just take us through the process of where you are right now and talking with other clubs.
Yeah, there's been some sort of highly publicized chatter about us, obviously, and that's normal for this time of year. I think we're about 6 weeks out right now. July 30th is the deadline this year, so things start heating up. There are some teams that typically like to kind of jump the deadline, and we've made trades around early July at times. It doesn't always happen at the deadline, but it's pretty normal for conversations to happen. And I will say both Dan and I have had phone conversations, have had text conversations with other clubs just to kind of feel things out. We've even gone as far as, exchanging names with teams on some stuff. So there is active conversation. Obviously, the majority of stuff takes until there's a deadline, just like anything in this sport. So it's part of our process. We do have our pro scouts out seeing other organizations right now, looking at minor league clubs. And I'm talking to Mark too about where we're headed, where we want to focus, the at-bats and the innings on the major league team and see how that all plays out between now and July 30th.
Yeah, because a couple injuries down the road, GMs may be saying something to you now, or assistant GMs may be saying something, but their needs can dramatically change. I'm sure you've seen this, that all of a sudden July happens, all-star break, some craziness happens in their organization, and now their wants and their needs and their desperation change real quick.
Yeah, I mean, injuries play a huge role in this, and obviously unfortunately, I think we've seen injuries at kind of record rates over the last couple seasons, not only with pitchers, but a lot of position players going down, and that will affect what teams are looking for over the next month, and certainly the teams that are competing, that are buyers, that will change their focus. So, we've had success staying patient. We also have a lot of guys here that are, potentially here beyond this year. Other than a couple of the starting pitchers, mostly there's guys who are here potentially for a longer term, and we're obviously trying to build something longer. So it's not a given that we're just going to start having trade conversations where we're selling off.
Yeah, because that's what I get a lot of the post game. It's like, sell everybody off. You're like, well, why? What are you going to get? People love to talk about the unknown out there versus what you have. So when you go into a deadline like this, if you are to make trades, are the trades all thinking about the future?
Yeah, they are mostly when it comes to trades. But I will say, that doesn't mean that our focus isn't also on now and winning games now. And I've said this a lot to you on the show, and I sound a little bit like a broken record, I'm sure, but there's value in winning games now. And at some point you have to turn and win now in order to establish that. And I have no concerns about the culture that Mark sets in the clubhouse. I think when we hired him, we knew how good he was going to be at that, and he's done an outstanding job in the toughest of conditions. And I'm not looking for anybody to take moral victories or anything less than a W at the end of the night. But the fact is, we played really well early on. We got some injuries, and we continue to compete nearly every night. Again, that's not good enough for me. It's not good enough for Mark and his staff. I know it's not good enough for the players. But we do compete. I mean, we lost 2 brutal games the last couple of days to the Padres that we were very much in and probably could have and should have won. There's any number of those games over the past month that I could say the same thing. And the change comes when you turn competing in games into finding a way to win. And that doesn't happen if you're just moving guys for the sake of moving them. Now, if we can make a real dent in something in the future with a trade, I'm absolutely going to look at that. I will say, Joe Boyle is not here right now, but trading for Joe Boyle at the deadline last night, I think, was an important piece as we go forward. I still expect Joe Boyle to develop and be a part of our pitching staff.
I championed the JJ Bleday trade. I remember when it happened. People were like, well, AJ Puck. I'm like, AJ Puck. I mean, he's going to, no offense to AJ, but he's going to be a reliever and he's going to have whatever issue he's had. You get a guy like JJ Bleday with that kind of talent, and it's worked out that JJ Bleday has been one of the best offensive center fielders this year.
No, and I appreciate, I appreciate that and your support. I'm thinking about the deadline and some of the things we do or don't do. And again, this team is competitive. This team has players who can be here over the long haul. Whether it's beyond here or beyond 25 and 26, down the road. So it's important to not take that for granted, not take their role in the future of A's winning teams for granted, and really keep that in mind as we go through the next 6 weeks.
I know a narrative became that older pitchers got hurt and we're without X amount of guys. But I've watched these young guys step in. You saw it with Hogan Harris. We've seen it with Joey Estes. Mitch Spence, we've talked a lot about Mitch Spence. We've been talking about Mitch Spence since Nashville. These young guys, if you want a real pro for, pros versus cons ever since you were 500 and where we are now, the young starting pitchers, it's like, I want to see more of this. Medina's going to go tonight. We know the kind of stuff that he has. I think that's one. When you look at a definite pro and Scott Emerson and his staff, just talk about the young starters have held their own. The numbers show that they've been better than the guys who are actually on the IL.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you talk about competing, the first thing you have to do is have your starting pitcher keep you in the game. And that the guys you mentioned have absolutely stepped up and done that. Hogan and Mitch, Medina, since he's been back. I mean, JP's been consistent since the beginning of the year. But for a little brain cramp he had on the mound the other day, would probably have another W added to his record. But yeah, there's no doubt that's been a positive to take away almost every night, is starting pitcher going out there, keeping us in games. Spence had to move from that long roll in the pen to do it. Hogan came up on, zero notice, took a red eye to Tampa, got in at 6 a.m. and pitched 6 shutout against the Rays the next day, and has gone out and been quality ever since. So, no, there's no doubt. And look, the bullpen was bound to regress a little bit from as good as they were the first 2 months, and that's the nature of the season.
When I look at the offense, we talked about it just a little bit ago. It's easy for a defense to defend a strikeout. They don't have to do anything. And we've shown some highlights of teams not hitting the ball very hard, but forcing the defense to make plays, and they don't, and they lose. Just from a standpoint of watching, we're looking at this past series. One game had 16 strikeouts, the next has 18. How much does that frustrate you? Because not putting the ball in play, striking out, it's tough for an offense to generate much any type of momentum when you can't get people on base.
For sure. And unfortunately, it's the reality of the game right now. I will say, I don't think it's ever been harder to hit in Major League Baseball than it is right now. And I obviously, I can't go back in time to watch games in the middle of the 20th century or whatever, but, when the dead ball era, but there's never been a time when there's so many pitchers throwing as hard with as much movement, and you see it across the game. I think there are more strikeouts than hits across the game this year. I don't know that for sure. I know at one point there were, but that's a pretty incredible reality of where we are right now. So, yeah, strikeouts are a huge part of how we talk about our offense and how you avoid them and put the ball in play. At the same time, we know that homers win. We scored so many of our runs via the homer. It's obviously well documented. I know it's up on the broadcast every night when we homer, the percentage 50%. Of runs.
It's 50% right now, exactly 50.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I'm not 100% sure what that says about our offense, because hitting homers is important. And we've seen teams in the past, there's a correlation between homers and winning, much more so than just about anything else on the offensive side. But solo homers obviously aren't as impactful. So, we talk about that in the offense. I know Mark and Darren Bush and the hitting coaches, they talk to our guys about it. The fact is, it's something we need to improve, but it's easier said than done.
Cody, do you have the answer? I know Cody was over here looking it up as you were.
As you know, David, I always like to go back and forth with you. You are correct. There are more entering today. There are more strikeouts in Major League Baseball hits. There are 17,006 strikeouts entering today and 16,482 hits.
That's crazy.
That is sort of the state of the game right now.
How do we stop that?
I don't know, Chris. You pitched. Would you have wanted to pitch from 64 feet?
Well, my 88-89 would have gone down a little bit.
Yeah, but maybe there would have been more room for that breaking ball to drop. So maybe your spin rates would have played better from 64.
Well, I mean, you're an NBA fan. They just had the NBA in tournament. See, I mean, there's changes going on in these other sports. Is that something that maybe we really should look at?
I think Major League Baseball has done a good job of looking at things. It was well documented. They used the Atlantic League to try out some rules. They did move the mound back a little bit. There was no sort of discernible difference. We talk a lot about whether you lower the mound. And I know there have been some sort of anonymous surveys done, like what rule would you put in place? Is everything over 95 miles an hour a ball? Like there's random stuff thrown out there. This is how the game has evolved. And if we want to stop evolution, it's going to take something drastic.
All right. I love the Tyler Soderstrom at first base. I know he's going to make some mistakes. That's just a reality. We can go back to Moneyball and Brad Pitt saying it's easy, and then the actor playing Wash goes, it's incredibly hard. All right. But Tyler, I see the future. Tell us, Tyler Soderstrom, first base, how you feeling and how do you see the future?
I'm really happy with the progress Tyler has made from, from his first call up last year to where he's at now, his second time in the big leagues. And this is the progress we talk about. We talked about it with JJ, talk about it all the time with guys making adjustments. And from where he was last year, where probably brought up before he was ready, only a couple hundred AAA at bats under his belt, to see the reality of the big leagues and how guys got him out to where he is now. I mean, he hit fourth in the lineup the last couple of days, and hit a couple really big homers to keep us in ball games. As far as first base is concerned, I think he's come a long way. He didn't do it a lot in the minor leagues. Catcher was his primary position. I thought he made a couple really nice plays in San Diego. The dive, obviously, made the dive at home the other day to his right. That play that we didn't make with JP on the mound the other day, Tyler did a really nice job going down the line and getting that ball and was ready to make the throw. There wasn't anybody at the bag for him to throw it to. So I think we're very pleased with where Tyler's at right now. He's got a long way to go. Obviously, he's hitting in the low 200s, but he's taking his walks, which is something we knew he would always do. And he's starting to hit for power. And that ball he hit to the left of center the other day is a really good sign. When he lets the ball travel and can drive it that way, that shows you he's turning into a big league hitter.
Yeah, I was just looking at my scorebook in the ninth inning where he knocked it into left center. He smoked it, and I know the dugout went, unfortunately, but definitely good signs. I like that progress. Let's end on this because obviously there's frustration. I mean, you are what your record says you are. You're playing close games. You're losing close games. There's frustration. At one point, you were 500. Now you are where you are at this point. How does David Forst deal with – I know you got to console everybody. You got to make sure, hey, Kotz, we're in the right direction. How do you deal with the frustration? Because you are as competitive as anybody. Like you said, you went down to San Diego. Well, we should have been better than that. How do you deal with the frustration?
I appreciate you asking, but it's fine. It's part of the process, unfortunately. And we have a lot of positives ahead of us down the road. A lot of players coming through the system, a lot of young players right now still learning the game at the big league level. But there are guys that are going to come back up and contribute. And you talked about the starting pitching, like the process is there. The sort of structure is in place for a Hogan Harris or a Mitch Spence or Medina or whoever to come in and succeed. So as long as you feel like the infrastructure is there and we can do that. The coaching staff does a great job. Mark does a great job. Player development has set these guys up. All these pieces are in place. And it's a matter of putting the right roster together, the right 26 guys. So it'll happen. We've talked about it before. Mark and I take positives out of every night if we can. Some a little harder than others. When he doesn't get to stick around and see the ninth inning, that's a harder one to take a positive out of. But yeah, this is what we signed up to do, and I wouldn't trade it. So we're doing fine.
Well, it's not talked enough about, and it's not something that we're going to talk a lot about, but you are put into a situation no other front office guy has ever been put in. This has never happened before, and I know you don't want to talk about a bunch. I don't want to talk about a bunch, but just know that, when we're dealing with this show and the post-game show, that everybody needs to realize that these are circumstances the other 29 teams normally don't deal with. So you're dealing with stuff that's it's some pretty heavy stuff. So like you said, the future, there is some. I can't wait till we talk about Wilson coming up, and I can't wait to see Muncie. My guy Bolte is on fire in Lansing.
Henry's been great. He's playing really well. Yeah, both Midland and Lansing competing for first half championships. So no, there are good things happening. And I appreciate you saying that, Chris. The fans have been incredibly supportive. And the fans that are out there behind our players and our staff. And I know they appreciate hearing that when they're out there. So it's great. It's great when the fans are out there and supporting our team. And we've played good baseball. Like I said at the beginning, we just need to start turning some of that good baseball into W's.
All right, Cody's going to text you guys he likes in the draft. Do you like some guys?
I know we're coming up on the College World Series where I got some guys you can shoot down like you did for the Rule 5 draft. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
You're super scout, Cody.
Well, Braden Montgomery getting hurt kind of stinks, so I'm sure he's not on the draft board now. So
you're going to tell me you like Condon and Bazana and Burns. You're really going to go out on a limb there, Cody?
On a limb with those three guys. The guys that could go in the top 3.
David, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Be well.
See you guys.
David Forst, the general manager of the A's. And yeah, to lay it on the line for all of you, our jobs are tough. They are. They're unique circumstances. You work for a team that's in a crazy transition like we have never seen. And you still have to balance we got to normalize stuff, right? We have to normalize the situation and cover the team. And, we can't sit here every day and go, well, you've been dealt a tough hand. You still have to judge the team and still have to go about it. But my God, I mean, it's very, very tough for David Forst and his staff. You're making moves, when you say, well, why do you sign a guy like this? And you're taking a lot of chances. I got to, I'm taking a chance with Wood. I'm taking a chance with Stripling. I'm taking a chance with Jace Peterson. I'm taking a chance with Aletmus Diaz. What else do I do? Right? You got to take chance with young guys. You got it, and unfortunately in those situations, it's hard to have all of that stuff you would have to be magical to have everything that you hope happen. It just doesn't work that way. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, covering the team, doing this on a daily basis. I do 3 different shows a day. Right. And it's tough to balance what everybody knows, right? This is the last year in Oakland. We're going to Sacramento. There's a lot of stuff. There's heavy stuff going on, but still we try and, like I say, normalize it and just keep this about baseball and keep it about the team and keep the ball rolling. It's not easy to do, man. It's not easy to do. We'll all write a book someday.
Hopefully. The biggest takeaway for me from that whole thing with David, I had no idea. I never looked this up, that there are more strikeouts in Major League Baseball than hits. That's alarming.
Well, I'll go back to when we started this show years ago, and I told you that you were wrong and that baseball was going in the wrong direction, and you told me I was wrong. How are you feeling about that now? Hot Take Tuesday. Maybe I was right back then.
By the way, speaking of hot takes, not to go up, Johnny Collins Soderstrom.
Yes.
Johnny might have gotten this one right.
Johnny D with the hot take on Sody.
Might have to put that in the open. If Soderstrom stays hot through the Minnesota series when we come back home next week against the Royals on the field, and that might be in there.
This is where it's tough. Where you say, I don't care about the wins and losses Soderstrom plays. This is where June gets to be really tough. It's tough because once again, he wants to win. Kotsay wants to win. It's easier said and done for us to say here on the post-game show at 833-625-2278. Robert Costa.
Whoa. Scott Pastorino.
Standing by. Call Scott Pastorino right now. 833-625-2278. Ask him what he had for lunch. If he sold any flowers today on his farm in Half Moon Bay.
When's he getting ready for the pumpkin patch?
Pumpkin patch. Are they growing the pumpkins now? Call Scott Pastorino, 833-625-2278. Tell him hello. It's tough, right? You want to win games. But also I'm looking at Soderstrom, and I'm like, I need to see Geloff at second. Geloff's got to pull out of this.
That's a fact.
Soderstrom, I want to see play. Schumann, you're playing until you play yourself out of the position.
Not in the lineup today. Needs a day off.
God, we've run him into the ground.
He had the sombrero yesterday too, right?
Yeah, you've run him into the ground. Is it Diaz at short?
Diaz at short, yeah.
Third base.
Don't really have anyone besides Toro.
But Toro can move around. We're
Yeah.
fine, right? Like if I need to give Geloff a day off, I can throw Toro at second base. Toro just keep grinding. Keep grinding. Toro's earning himself money right now. Toro is earning himself money. You know, it's funny, like last year, he only played 9 games in the big leagues last year for Milwaukee. Yeah. Toro right now is earning himself cash. Every single time Toro gets a base hit, every single time he does something well, he's earning himself cash, whether it's here or somewhere else. So good for Toro. Toro, keep doing your thing. Andujar,
got to play. Bleday, got to play.
JJ Bleday is has potential star.
There was an article I was reading that he could potentially be it wasn't the ESPN one today, but it was something, I don't know if it was The Athletic, but they were talking about how on paper, I think it was ESPN, David Schoenfeld the other day, how we could have, if you look at it, we could have 4 All-Stars.
JJ Bleday is the 3rd best offensive center fielder in baseball, according to weighted runs created plus.
It's Judge. Who was second?
I don't remember. Because it's not who you think. It's not J-Rod. It's not. I mean, Bleday is the 3rd best overall offensive center fielder. And you know what's interesting? That I listened to a conversation, and it's so true. Like sometimes when you look at guys' offensive numbers and you go, why is their WAR so good? Because WAR does give certain positions a lot of love defensively, and center field is one. WAR recognizes that center field is really hard to play. And if you do it really well, it's going to give you a lot of love. That you don't have to be, traditionally center fielders aren't great offensive players. But JJ Bleday right now is the 3rd best according to weighted runs created plus. Was that 2 days ago we saw that?
It was either 2 or 3 days. I'm trying to pull it up right now. Let's see where he's at. Who was the guy ahead of him?
Judge is first.
We got to go by games or at bats. It would be Bleday right now is at 124. No one's catching Aaron Judge at 213.
No.
The only guy that has anywhere near the plate appearances,
where's Belly?
Jaron Bellinger is 118. Duran from the Red Sox is 119. But the other guys like Trout, he only played in 29 games. Kevin Pohl.
How many games? Duran's played how many games in center? He's played a lot of left.
It says it just has him on here. I'm looking at center field. It has him on here as
how many games in center?
It says 68.
There's no way. He's played all over the diamond.
But yeah, so right now, if you look at, because Pilar's only played 44 games.
Whether it's Baseball Savant or Fangraphs, these guys need to clean up their sites. I'm telling you right now, that's my challenge to all you baseball nerds out there. Go to these websites and make them way. Can you imagine? I guarantee you, if you dabble in stocks and you are going through, let's just say, Charles Schwab, Merrill Lynch, or whatever.
40 games in center for.
Yeah, he didn't play that. How much did he play in left?
42.
And 47 in center, 42 in left?
That can't be possible.
That's 80.
That's 82 games, and we only played 68. He started 37 in left and 31 in right.
Yeah, so he's flipped all over. That's why I can't really. But you know what I'm saying? If I'm looking at my portfolio online, it's not confusing.
I'll take your word for it.
Baseball Savant's confusing.
Yes.
Fangraphs can be confusing.
Also, yes.
Clean your act up, baseball nerds. Clean it up. Make it easier to use.
Why do you think? Every time I think of that, I just picture Eno sitting at home getting mad.
Clean it up, Eno. Call your guys and clean it up. Make your websites easier to use. More people would, by the way, pay and subscribe to use them if you made it way more easier. Like they had this thing when the Baseball Savant, when the StatCast bad information came up and there was these numbers and it was like, my guy from Chicago, Lance.
Oh, Brodzowski.
Brodzowski, the hardest name to pronounce in sports. Brodzowski. He's fabulous on television.
Marquee.
But he had this whole thing on Mookie Betts, and it's like you had to go to 3 different things to find out what he was talking about. Because I said find it, because I can't figure it out. You had to go through 3 different things for Mookie Betts to find what he was talking about with this one number. You need 3 numbers to get one. I'm like, come on, bro. You got to make this way easier.
That's right. His batting average for sliders.
It was like, you got to make this
bat
way
speed
easier.
against sliders, and then bat speed against fastballs, and how there's a 3-mile-per-hour difference.
He made it sound simple. I'm like, you got to go through 3 different processes to get this answer. That is not acceptable.
So if you're looking,
clean it up, baseball nerds. Make your websites more functional.
You can make this a whole thing, but yeah, we'll say as for sake of JJ Bleday, he has a second best in games played in center field, only behind Aaron Judge, who has almost 100 more weighted runs created plus than JJ Bleday.
But that's fine. He's
Aaron Judge. I mean, he's 25 home runs. He could be a 50-50 guy.
Aaron Judge is a freak of nature and will be a baseball Hall of Famer. Yeah. Oh
wow.
Out on a limb.
Mark the tape there.
Out on a limb. I mean, he's going to have a year. He's like the closest thing to Bonds that we've seen.
I heard Tim Kirkchin say, that's fair. Tim Kirkchin say that since Pete Alonso's been in the big leagues, he has the most home runs and RBI.
I
How?
talked to a New York Mets executive.
How's that possible when Aaron Judge hit 62 and he's had like how many years where he's had, I know he's been hurt, but I mean, how many home runs does Pete Alonso hit?
A lot.
I mean, I know he's hit a lot, and he's.
But how many more years does Pete Alonso have?
Oh wow! I mean, he is 29. He's probably going to be a Mariner or Cub at the trade deadline. Pete Alonso in his career has 206 home runs. Oh, he's had 240 home run seasons after the 53. Aaron Judge.
I talked to a New York Yankee scout who believes that Aaron Judge will stay in center field for the majority of his career. Future Hall of Famer Max Scherzer.
199.
That's my Tim Kirkchin.
199 to 206. So he does have more. But Judge is also hurt too for a couple. So
I mean, what does it matter? I mean, Judge plays center field.
Yeah,
Pete Alonso's a hack first baseman.
Wow.
Ooh, no offense.
Mariner or Cub? Where would you rather see him go?
For who?
Pete Alonso.
That's the dumbest question you could have asked me. That is just a dumb question.
Why? Because you don't want to see him play in the Mariners? It's 1 year.
That is a dumb question. Why would you even ask me that?
I'm asking you as a baseball fan.
As an A's guy.
I'm asking you as a baseball fan.
I want to see him play for a National League team we have to never see, or a guy we got to see all the time with the Mariners.
Well, actually, we've played the Mariners how many times now, so we don't have to play them one more time.
That's a dumb question. I don't want to see him as a Mariner. I wish they'd send him to Japan.
You know, by the way, I think it's 2 weeks from now will be the first time we played the Angels all season.
That's right. We haven't played the Angels.
It'll be the end of June.
Hey, we've played the Marlins,
Pirates,
Padres. Look at all the teams we've played. We haven't even played the Angels in division yet.
Who else have we played? The Braves. We played some teams. Yes. Right? Is there anyone else we haven't? Because maybe think of it because like the Pirates and Cardinals just played their first series this week. And then I looked, I'm like, we haven't played the Angels yet. And then we played the Angels 3 times in July and then done after July. And I think we have Texas and Houston and Seattle the rest of the way.
This concerns all of us. El Nino.
Wait, the Storm or Nando?
With Jessica Kleinschmidt yesterday talking about Nando on our pregame show. God. El Nino, a natural climate pattern. It's the warming of the water.
Yes.
Warming marked by warmer than average ocean temperatures in the tropical Pacific Ocean has gripped the planet since the start of last summer. It's reached super status earlier this year after boosting temperatures during the hottest year on record and influencing other global weather events. But looks like El Nino is out, baby. La Nina is in. We're supposed to have weather this weekend in Minnesota.
Oh.
How they did not, as much. Target Field's beautiful. I've been there before. It's beautiful. It needs a roof. All these Midwest places should have a roof.
Do any of them even who has a roof in the Midwest?
By the way, La Nina summers following strong El Nino winters have historically been some of the hottest on record in the U.S. Get ready. Get ready for a hot summer, baby. It's going to be warm. You ready? San Ho, we'll get a couple hundo days.
We had a couple 90s already.
Yeah, we had wind and it was cold yesterday. Weather on the 10s and the 5s.
I don't think there is a team in the Midwest that has a roof or retractable roof.
Milwaukee.
That's one, right? Everyone else doesn't.
It's idiotic. Yeah. They should put a tarp over Wrigley Field, over whatever they call, what do they call the White Sox?
Is it guaranteed rate?
There should be a tarp over that. There should be a roof over all those godforsaken places.
By the way, if you want to watch something,
Kansas City and St. Louis.
If you think we had it bad last year and you had it really bad with post game last year, go on Twitter X after games and just go to NBC White Sox and watch how Chuck Garf, what's his name, the guy that the Chuck and Ozzie Guillen react to every loss. The host Chuck was crawling on the floor, how he can't do this anymore, and Ozzie Guillen goes, "What is this?" And he goes, "It's a cactus." "Oh, maybe I'll sit on this because that's going to be less painful than the one I just watched." It's bad in Chicago right now for the White Sox. They've lost 4 straight. They might get swept by the Mariners.
Yeah, Ozzie Guillen, who has made millions of dollars in his career, can do that. And it's funny, and but he doesn't care. If you fired him tomorrow, what does he care? So Fair. It's like funny how people look at that. It's like, Ozzie Guillen as a player, then as a manager. Yeah. He's made a lot of money.
Won World Series.
He's got a pension. He's got guaranteed money coming in from his pension from Major League Baseball. So yeah, you want to talk about you want to be like that after a game? You can't. And also the owner loves him. No matter what. I mean, you fired him.
We fired Towny how many times?
But Ozzie Guillen is loved by Jerry Reinsdorf. But yeah, I mean, it's like people do that. It's like, hey, it's funny, but that's not good for longevity. Yeah, there is part that people need to realize. It's hard to work for a team that's struggling. It is. And it's tough to find the positives, but you have to do it. And once again, to lead you out of the darkness, some of this stuff has to work, right? I mean, you cannot say that Hogan Harris does not look like a different guy.
Oh, 100% he does.
Right?
It's great because we saw we talked about this with a few people last week in the meal room at the Coliseum that he might have
give up our secrets.
Oh, he might have had the worst debut of all time last year. But he made a third of an inning. He hit guys. He walked like 6 batters.
It was painful. It was like, oh my God, this poor kid. You just want to go down and hug him in the dugout.
Then he came back.
It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
Goes on to Vegas, comes back, pitched pretty well for a couple starts. And then, last year, it is what it is last year. I mean, the team just wasn't good. The starting pitching this year, the pitching overall has been way better. That's why the team has more wins right now than they did anywhere near this time last year.
What time are we off today?
We got about another 15 minutes.
It's Prince night tonight at the game?
Yeah, I was going to ask you what's your favorite Prince song.
It's Purple Rain or Little Red Corvette.
Those are both good, yeah.
Or Nikki, which later on as he became a Christian, Prince did not want to sing Nikki anymore. Once knew a girl named Nikki, I guess you could say she was. Met in a hotel lobby, with a magazine. Even know that song? I said, how you like? All right. But
I do like that the Vikings.
Arguably the greatest concert I've ever seen. At the Shark Tank, Prince is one of the greatest concerts I have ever seen with my own eyes. He is truly, or was truly, one of the most talented musicians ever. Prince, you go to a Prince concert, he plays so many instruments. It's incredible. Never even gets credit as being one of the great guitarists of all time because it's so much about what a performer. You want to know how great Prince is? Go back on YouTube. There's a quick documentary about when he did the Super Bowl halftime. It's in Miami. That was the Colts against the Saints. Horrific storm comes in. They're all freaked out that how are you going to do the halftime? And it's a tropical downpour. It's coming in sideways. They call Prince and they say, hey, what are you thinking? Because he's got this slick stage. He's got the twin dancers and high heels. He's electric guitars everywhere in a downpour of a tropical storm. There's a whole thing on YouTube. It's so fun to watch. And Prince goes, I don't care. Make it rain harder. He used the rain like a special effect. It's the greatest halftime show you have ever seen if you don't remember it. Because, halftime shows every year. Go back, watch the Prince. It's on YouTube, and it has the television executives talking about it, how they were freaked out about it, and he killed it. Prince is was one of the greatest performers of all time. Purple Rain. Come on, man. Purple Rain.
I would go, for me, I like all those songs too. I love that the Vikings use Let's Go Crazy every time there's a touchdown scored at what's M&T Bank Stadium. I think an underrated Prince song is Raspberry Beret.
Yeah.
It's a good one. 1999 obviously is a big song.
I'll give you another one.
Delirious.
I'm going to give you another one. There's a Saturday Night Live reunion party. Right? They had the big Saturday Night Live. I can't remember what it was, a few years ago, and they were doing the special. Now so many came back. There was an after party. Jimmy Fallon talks about this, where he's up there, Jimmy Fallon, because Jimmy Fallon's musical, and they got people. Prince just rolls up. Jimmy Fallon talks about it's like he floated up, and Prince just picks up a guitar. There's some video of it out there, and you're just like, man, this guy, he could play everything. And he could sing, and he could dance. He could do anything.
And one of the greatest skits in the history of television is Charlie Murphy playing basketball against Prince on the Chappelle Show. It is one of the greatest things I've ever watched in my entire life. Prince and the Revolution versus Charlie Murphy and a couple of his friends. It's one of the greatest. I was in high school. That's how long ago it was. That's one of the greatest things I've ever watched on television.
The whole notes today for the A's and the Minnesota Twins is a Prince theme. Let's Go Crazy, Little Red Corvettes, Delirious, Nothing Compares to You. That was a great one. When Doves Cry.
Good one.
When Doves Cry. This is what it says. The A's were 500 club entering play on May 5th, 17-17. But since then, the team has lost 27 of 36, the worst record in MLB in that span. Oakland has lost 15 of their last 17 road games.
One was Baby I'm a Star, right? That's a good one. First time I heard that song was, I believe I was at a Warriors game and they're playing it during, because I've heard a lot of Prince songs, but I never heard Baby I'm a Star. Then I heard it at a Warrior game during an intermission it was still at Oracle. Oh, speaking of Oracle, the last game ever at Oracle Arena was today on this date. The Warriors lost the game. They lost the NBA Finals. Last game at Oracle today on this date. Was it 5 years ago?
And you want to know how much has changed? The Warriors locker room is still how they left it at Oracle. They haven't changed it.
Well,
still there. I saw it recently. Couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is still how, the Warriors walked out, left it, and no one's changed a thing. Are you shocked by that?
No.
Mason Miller in the notes today. I wanted to bring this up. Did you just bring it up? That's what jarred it. You realize Mason Miller has a 2.40 ERA?
I did not bring it up, but
I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at the notes as we were looking at this.
Mason Miller's in the notes, I'm pretty sure. He's in there every day.
Everyone believes two things. Everybody believes everyone's going to want to trade for him. Are you so sure about that? Are we so sure about that? So it's funny. Mason Miller goes to New York. Mason Miller was so hyped up that he's basically throwing 104 miles an hour. You don't think he was all geeked up being at Yankee Stadium going against those guys? He's not looked the same since. Because that was adrenaline. That was an athlete that had pure adrenaline. It was just like a bolt of lightning going through his veins. And he was jacked up. Here comes Aaron Judge. Here comes Juan Soto. That was Mason Miller. Like the endorphins and everything that was pumping through his body on that day. And after that, everybody went crazy. You can't trade him. Everybody's going to want him. Brody Brazil and I were doing TV together. I was the analyst on NBC Sports California. Brody wanted to give him 5 years, $75 million. And I was like, what? Because you look like the bad guy when you don't go along with that stuff. But I was like, what? Does anybody look like? Mason Miller, if you're a team, what would you give up for him right now? Trading deadline's coming up. Discussions are happening. What are you going to give for a closer who throws hard? It's his first year closing. He hasn't replicated the unhittable guy in New York. Yesterday dropped a slider. Jackson Merrill, another rookie, boop, knocks it out. He hasn't looked unhittable. His numbers are still great. He doesn't go back-to-back or back-to-back-to-back. He's still an experiment. We saw him in New York, and boy, did everybody jump the gun. And unfortunately, I got to be the bad guy and say, everybody slow your horses. And you know who also did the same thing? Scott Emerson when we had him on. Scott Emerson said, slow down, everybody. I'm pulling the reins on, by the way. Like if I was horses pulling. We got to slow down. Mason Miller is still a work in progress. And I know people are going to call the postgame show 833-625-2278. Everybody's going to call, and Mason Miller's the greatest. Slow down. And worry about him getting traded. I don't know. What would you trade for him? Play GM. If there was one team that could use him, obviously it's the Baltimore Orioles.
Yes.
And if there's one team that had position players that they could let go, it's the Baltimore Orioles. But if you're the Baltimore Orioles right now where we stand on June 13th, are you really is he the guy you'd go after? I don't know what Mason Miller is truly long-term. I don't know what he is right now. If you're the Orioles, you see the A's are babying him. I need a guy who can come in and close games out every night. Can he do that?
Two things. When you look at closers, and you mentioned Brody mentioning the contract form, first thing I'll say is, how's that Edwin Diaz and Josh Hader deals working?
But this is when you let the fan side, like, I love Mason Miller. This is incredible. And it's desperation from the fan base. I get it. We're all like, we're starving for something that's good. Here's something that's good. Let's lock it up. And it's just like, whoa, what, and my guy, you know how much I love Chris Carey. Love me. Chris Carey's like family to me. I'm like a Carey now.
When I think of great Careys, I think of Harry, Skip, Chip.
When that dirtbag Johnny Dosco skipped out on me on my birthday in Arizona, and Chris Carey was there for me, Chris Carey took me to dinner on my birthday. Chris Carey will always be like family to me. Johnny D, bigger, better deal. He had like people from Sacramento in town, River Cats people who were going to buy his dinner. He skipped out because he knew it's my birthday dinner. He would have to probably fit the tab.
He still owes you a steak dinner.
And he still owes me a steak dinner. Johnny D really is just a dirtbag to where Chris Carey's like family to me. But when Chris started, it's the Reaper. And would you trade for me right now, June 13th? Would you trade for me? Would you trade one of your top positions? Because that's what they're going to want. Oh, and now look, Johnny's listening. Ha, 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 I'm listening. No, it's true, Johnny. You owe me a steak dinner, and you skipped out on me on my birthday so you could get a free meal with your sack guys.
I wasn't there, but
Do you think Johnny will even talk to us in Sacramento? Johnny's a rock star. Johnny's like Elvis in Sacramento.
Johnny's like Prince. He'll have too many people around. He'll have the revolution, and
Johnny will be like
he'll need a police escort.
Johnny's going to be in Sacramento, and he's going to be like A's Cast. I haven't even heard of that.
Oh, those guys?
You guys are still here?
Those guys?
Oh, yeah. Johnny's going to be walking around like he's Vin Scully in Sacramento. Oh my God, the ego on that guy.
But no, the Orioles. Well, back to Hader real quick. Hader had to put in his own rules for all his stuff, but with the Orioles, they have a lot of position players. Would you give them up if you're trying to win it now? I'm getting past the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of hoarding guys. I would. That's me talking but they probably won't.
But would you do it for Mason Miller, who you need him to be able to go all the time? You're trying to win a World Series. You're just trying to win your division against the Yankees.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the battle right now with the Yankees, Orioles and Yankees. This is basically the older heavyweight champ going up against the young. We only got 2 minutes left.
3 minutes, yeah.
But you know what? Wouldn't you say this? Like, if this is like boxing, you've got the established champ and the young champ. This is old school. Yankees and the Orioles are going to slug this thing out for 15 rounds. This is going to the end of the season.
Now,
barring any injury, because I mean, for the Yankees, as much as I hate these SOBs, Garrett Cole's coming back.
Yeah, he pitched a rehab game the other day.
And this heel kid has turned out to be lights out.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Your favorite nasty Nestor. I mean, you look at Orioles Yankees that's why I said the Rays as we know it. See you later. Red Sox still hovering around 500. Blue Jays are going to sell off. This is going to be a heavyweight fight. They need bullpen help. As much as Craig Kimbrell on my fantasy team better get his act together, and he did yesterday, they need help. But would you give up a lot for Mason Miller, who you really don't know? And, oh, by the way, Mason Miller, remember, Blake Trinan for the A's had a 0.78 ERA.
Correct.
Was historic. Mason Miller right now has a 2.40 ERA. It's not like Mason Miller has been unhittable. And everybody still wants to remember New York when he's hitting 103 point whatever. Mason Miller's been about 99 to 101, which, oh, by the way, as we saw yesterday with old Donnie Barrels, Urseg threw it 100 miles an hour, but you throw it right in that sweet spot. These hitters hit 100 now.
Yeah.
It's not crazy.
I would, because I'm just trying to think of the trade market right now. I probably would trade for him because the trade market's going to be, when you think of closers on the market.
I don't even know who'd be available.
That's what I mean. So we're talking about Miller, and I think the upside is something that the Orioles
the Giants put Doval on the market?
I don't think so. They're still in it. They're in the National League. Everyone's in it. They're actually a wild card team right now. He's a good one. He'd be an interesting one if they'd want to put him on the.
I mean, if they fall back, they're under 500. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, are under 500 teams going to go, we're in it? Or under 500 teams going to go,
I think there's 6 teams in the National League that are like a game and a half.
I don't think the Giants will, because you didn't bring Bob Melvin in to do that.
No.
But I'm just throwing names out there.
Yeah, like another guy that could be a sneaky trade candidate is Bednar from Helsley from the Cardinals. Bednar from the Pirates could be a guy.
Yeah.
If they're out of it. I could definitely, but the Cardinals are playing better now too.
Can I get Class A?
Yeah, I don't think Cleveland's trading him. He's pretty good. They're also leading their division. I can see if they're in last place. Kansas City needs a bullpen guy. They have the lowest strikeout percentage for their bullpen in baseball.
Stephen Vogt's got a 5.5 game lead right now
over the Royals, right? Because Royals won today, so it's 5.
Like, literally, the National League is awful. The National League's boring. Phillies have a 10-game lead over the Braves. Milwaukee's got a 7-game lead over the Reds and the Cubs and the Cardinals. And the Dodgers having a 6.5-game lead over the Padres.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the one race is the one we were just talking about, Yankees-Orioles. That's 2.5 games. You ready for a little baseball? I can't believe this show was over.
I know. We got an extra half an hour tomorrow. We're 2 to 4:30 tomorrow because of 5:10 start tomorrow.
We're 2 to 4:30?
Yeah. So we're going to have the manager, Mark Kotze. We'll have, I talked to him earlier today, the great Dave Stewart, A's Hall of Famer.
Ugh, Stu.
And then I got our buddy from Minnesota. I tried to get Bert Blyleven, but Bert was unavailable. So I got us Dan Hayes, our buddy from The Athletic, who's been listening to you for years.
Yeah, grew up in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Can Dave Stewart, who, by the way, has had one of the most amazing baseball lives, Dave Stewart as a player, Dave Stewart as a pitching coach, Dave Stewart as an assistant GM, as a GM, as an agent, and soon to be owner I mean, everything that he has done in the game, can Dave Stewart fix pitching?
It's one of the things I totally want to talk about.
There's more strikeouts than hits in the sport right now. David Forst maybe just gave me my third inning hit.
It's still remarkable.
I did not know that. Does anybody know that? We have more strikeouts right now than hits in all of baseball.
It's not good. Not good.
All right.
So that's it. David Forst. Thank you to David Forst and Doug Glanville, smartest man in baseball. 2 Ivy League guys.
Oh, my God. This is Harvard and Penn today.
So tomorrow, Dave Stewart, Mark Kotze, Dan Hayes from The Athletic covering the Twins. So we'll have you covered all weekend.
A's baseball coming your way next right here on A's Cast and the A's Radio Network.
Whether it's a midweek trip to the ballpark to catch a game or a weekend of baseball for the family, grab your tickets for an A's game this season. Secure your seats today for all the biggest matchups, fireworks, drone shows, giveaways, and more. Don't miss out on all the things happening this season.
Rose and Seth. It's a drive into center. It's deep, and Straw is back at the track. He will turn and watch it fly.
So grab yours now at athletics.com/tickets. That's athletics.com/tickets.
Introducing Ultimate Speed for Business, our fastest internet plans yet. Now existing customers could get up to triple the speeds at no additional cost, and it's all from Comcast Business.
Get started with internet and security for $49.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year contract. Plus, ask how to get up to an $800 prepaid card with a qualifying internet package. In 62324, restrictions apply. New customers only with 150 megabits per second internet and security edge. EcoBell and autopay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Up to 3 times downloads for existing essential and standard internet customers.
Where does one community end and the next begin? Across the railroad tracks? On the other side of the river? Is it between the east side and the west side? At Comerica Bank, we believe it's all one community, and we're all part of it. That's why Comerica has invested over $20 million for affordable housing, financial education, and workforce development in lower-income communities. Because when we raise expectations for everyone, we all rise. Member FDIC, Equal Opportunity Lender.
We're almost halfway through baseball season, and there's no better time to build your collection of Topps trading cards. Topps packs feature everything from top stars, rookies, game-used memorabilia, and autographs from players around the league, as well as special inserts and surprises. Visit your local hobby shop, retailers, and Topps.com to collect the newest product of the season, Topps Baseball Series 2. Follow @Topps on social media to join the conversation and start sharing your collection today.
This is the place where you can dance like nobody's watching, win like nobody's business, and get away like you mean it. So what are you waiting for? Come join the party. Take that evening out and make it a night you'll never forget. This kind of action can't be beat.
Hi, fans. This season, Kingsford Capital Management is the official hedge fund sponsor of the Oakland A's. At Kingsford, down to business is their way of seeing the world. Investing has its pitfalls, treacherous chasms of half-truth and despair. Kingsford's mission is to create opportunity through application of proven innovation and entrepreneurial focus with trust, tenacity, loyalty, and growth, establishing a strong reputation as a proven intended and validated bedrock of American finance. Kingsford Capital, down to business.
With the sunshine returning, it's time for golf, and more golf at Cinnabar Hills Golf Club. Cinnabar Hills is also your destination for great food with their beautiful renovated restaurant and quality craft beer selection at their full bar. Featuring a grass driving range and 27 championship caliber holes, Cinnabar Hills Golf Club is the best public course in the Bay Area. For more information, go to cinnabarhills.com. That's cinnabarhills.com.
This has been a presentation of the Oakland Athletics.